The 9th of July, Rabbi Levitt, Horeb.
Okay, we just finished the Hirsch's discussion of Psalm Gedalia, and now we're going on to Tinus Esther, which can be found on the bottom of page 145. The section number is section 238.
Got it.
Okay, Alan, want to read for us? Oh, Alan, you got your red mic. You got to unmute.
Not anymore.
You fixed that.
Okay. First of Esther. Commentators writes another sin of the gluth and a warning against it, of which we know only by tradition. The fast too has by the tradition of its origin become the commemoration of an epoch. It seems as though the guilt consciousness of the people had itself set up this memorial as a reminder. The event, Ahasuerus, in keeping with the disposition of Oriental conquerors, was gentle with the vanquished. As he ruled over so many nationalities, his quick glance could not, of course, fix upon any one characteristic, and therefore, however, varied the language, customs, or religion, all who submitted to the common term of subject were welcome to him. And so those of the people of Israel, they had in any case much for which to thank the Persian government, who had stayed far away from their homeland, basked in the benevolent rays of the king's kindness. This was also a test from above, namely, how would Israel, who was in the course of the coming centuries, would have to pass through so many ordeals, as long to God in its misfortunes, how would it stand up to the loyalty to Hashem under the rays of kindness? And behold, Israel, who never wavered in its loyalty under oppression, would not stand up to this test, enjoying the princely mercy, whether because they regarded it so long as it lasted as guarantee their well-being, or because in face of the kindness extended to them, they could not assert themselves in their own characteristic way of life, or because of the folly of thinking that they had to pay for these kindnesses by adapting themselves to the customs of the country, even if the cost was Israel's spirit and Israel's way of life, or because indeed they felt ashamed of their own peculiar characteristics and were eager to join themselves as quickly as possible with those upon whom their external welfare depended. In short, Israel could not stand up to the test. These kindnesses made them apathetic to the teachings of their father, but God soon wrenched them away from their dreams. A man arose, external example of Israel's Goliath, of how one can be loyal to the king and country and still remain a Jew in the truest and noblest saying. Mordecai had to teach them by his own example not to know anything of compromise with Israel's only godly possession in life, and to know that even though you may be able to buy the favor of those in power by surrendering only one of the duties of an Israelite, you must give yourself and all yours as a price rather than seize life and comfort through the violation of duty. To remain true and to put all else into the hand of Hashem. And because these very people, despite their attempts to adapt themselves, had experienced the fickleness of human favors, and because God had just converted the danger with which Mordecai's firmness had threatened them all into a glorious salvation, they realized their errors in the house of danger. And so while The day of their salvation was instituted by their leaders as a commemoration of a time of joy. The people themselves kept the day before as a memorial warning of use us of sinful erring. That indeed is the fast of Esther.
Wow.
You've got more.
Okay. Well, I go more. Didn't understand that. Okay, we could have more too. All right. Okay. Fine. Lou, you want to read the warning?
Okay. Uh,
Bottom of page 146.
the warning. Of what then is the fast of Esther a warning? Of the error of buying the favor of nations by adaptation to their way of life to the extent of violating divinely imposed obligations. While the fast of Gedaliah warns us against disloyalty, disobedience, and intransigence to God, which drove us into exile, and demands from us attachment, obedience, and loyalty to the nations who have accepted us, the fast of Esther shows us that there are limits to this summons set by loyalty to the law, which makes us into Israel. It proclaims to all generations of Israel, if God again tries them by means of the benevolence of nations, as he did by the latter's cruelty, they must remain steadfast in this trial and meet the conciliatory kindnesses with loyalty and attachment, and by furthering the welfare of the nations, and by the full development of the beautiful character of Israel, as indeed is demanded by God amid the harshness of nations, but not by surrendering of Israel's spiritual self, for that would mean committing suicide in order to gain life.
Oh,
Wow.
hmm. Okay. 239. We go back to, we have any time left? Oh, yeah, we have time. Okay. Back to Roy. 239.
Okay, this is a sort of like a chart. And it's the pattern of the fast days, Tanut, as is follows. One and the first section or group is a commemoration of the causes of the Galut. And we've got pleasures, one of is pleasure seeking, and that was at the time of the first temple, and self-seeking was the time of the second temple. So the first temple, we were a pleasure-seeking nation, and self-seeking nation in the second temple. That was Tisha B'Av and Shavua Aser what?
Tammuz.
the-
Shiva Asar B'Tammuz.
I didn't hear you properly, sorry.
Shiva Asar B'Tammuz.
Oh, Shiva Tammuz, and Shiva Batavus.
Asar B'Tavis.
Sarah Batavus, sorry. I can't read it. Okay, so that was the first two. And the commemorations of the sins of the Gullahs. Pleasure seeking, that was in the first temple, weakening of life by forgetting duty, and self-seeking, that was in the second temple. We were stubborn and disobedient of rulers and nations and Hashem's design. So in the first temple it was Ta'anit, Esther, and in the second temple was Tzom Gedalia. So therefore, having divided that up that way, therefore, Tisha B'Av and Shivat as Esrei B'Tammuz, Esrei Aseret B'Teves, those fasts, pleasure seeking and self-seeking in the land of Israel, and Tzom Gedalia, self-seeking, and Ta'anit Esther was pleasure-seeking. They were the causes that led to these fasts, and they were in the Galot. All right, I don't know if I managed to do that properly or not, but there you are. There could be a commemoration of yet another sin of the Galus, namely disloyalty to the Torah in times of oppression. But history offers no instance of this. Israel was always great in times of suffering. Millions of dead have engraved in the history of Israel's Galus the mighty fact that amid and despite oppression, degradation, and hardship, Israel always remained true to its God and preferred to surrender all that was his and his family's, including life itself, rather than save himself from oppression, even if it meant it was often the case, uttering just one required word and share in the happy sunshine of his oppressors. This is indeed its happy and benign days that Israel has to fear. Yes. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Back to Mayor 240.
Okay. Says the purpose of all the fast days is therefore teshuvah, acknowledgement of the lesson of exile, examination of oneself and of how far this lesson has been learned and lived, and a firm resolve to implement it. The way to this teshuvah is paid by divine service, by fasting and by mourning. 1. In divine service, the significance of the day should be fully understood, studied, and taken to heart. 2. Fasting. Abstaining from all kinds of nourishment for one day should help in mastering the animal in man, in calling a halt to the striving of self-gratification, and in showing that a firm will can well remain the victor. It should also bring home the thought whether what made it possible for us to control our impulses and cravings or at any rate, the most pressing ones for one day, could not make it possible for every day. And if we cannot control all such impulses, then at least we should shun the impure, the exuberant, and the forbidden. Fasting, therefore, should contribute towards the eradication of one of the sources of sin, pleasure seeking. Okay, number 3, mourning. The expression of one's sorrow and remorse. Well, on the one hand, mourning testifies to our being linked with the destiny of Israel. It should also help in driving away self-gratification and all its hateful consequences by making us conscious through the ruin of Israel's ancient state, that glittering edifice of the outward manifestation of nationhood, of the frailty of a personality based entirely upon the ego, be it ever so rich. Mourning should therefore contribute towards the sealing up of that other source of sin, self-seeking.
Okay. Very good. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Have a great day, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much, and everyone else should have a great day too.
Amen.
Okay.
We'll be back soon. Bezrat Hashem.
Very
See you,
good.
Mayor. Bye.
Okay, be well. Take care, Roy.
Let's see.